6 o'clock, and it's June 24th, 2024. The Board of Zoning Appeals will now come to order. The first item of business is approval of minutes of 4/22/24. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, do we have any corrections or any changes, or? Didn't see anything wrong with it? Nobody? Okay.
No.
If not, okay, no changes. All in favor? Aye.
Unanimous?
Unanimous, okay. A brief statement about the rules and procedures for this evening's meeting. The applicant will provide a presentation about the needs for the variance for 5 minutes, and we have the ability to extend that if for some reason you need additional time. The staff will address any additional issues that may be pertinent to the particular case. Then there will be citizen comments, and that'll go for 5 minutes. And we would ask if you're making a comment and somebody else has made the same comment, that either you just say that you agree or refrain from making additional comments for the sake of the time. The applicant rebuttal and questions will follow that, and questions will come from the board members at the end. And once we start our deliberations and we start our voting, then there's no more interaction with the audience or the applicant. The first item that we have on the agenda tonight is a variance application VA 24-000009. Louise McKirkin, did I get that right?
That's right.
Is requesting a 20-foot variance for the front setback for the existing garage. TMS number is 286-00-01-046 with an address of 208 Knox Cove Road, Westminster, South Carolina, 29693. Would the applicant please come forward and make your presentation?
Mr. Chairman. Sorry, we've got a 10-foot variance and an address of 308.
I'm sorry?
The request is for a 10-foot variance?
Right. 10-foot variance to the front setback for an
Yes.
existing?
Yes.
Right. Can you say that?
Now.
Okay,
Gotcha now.
I'm sorry.
And then the address is 308 Knox Cove Road.
Right,
308.
308.
Thank you.
Okay, we'd moved here and then we had a pole barn put up. And during that time, after we had got the house all done and everything and the pole barn put up, we'd hired contractors to do everything. And we did not know what the rules were, but we figured because we were hiring professionals, that the professionals would tell us if, what needed to be done. And they did not, basically. They put it all where it is. And we are, 14 foot from the road?
Yeah, I can't remember. I originally staked it out, and when I went back and looked at the back property line, I said, "Oh, I can't do this." So I moved it just inside our property line, not knowing that I had to have
A variance.
this variance from the road until the letter come in the mail.
So that's really where we're at. Everything is neat and clean and, in good shape. We don't have anything sticking out in the middle of the road at all. Nothing sticks out or anything like that. So that's why we requested the variance.
Have anything further you want to say?
That's basically where we're at. We just trusted, I guess, the construction people.
What was the issue with going back further?
It's a pie shape.
There.
See the pie, how it comes out to a point?
Yeah.
We put the garage up out here. And that's where I was shifting it from front to back to get it off the back property line. I couldn't go to the other side because it's about 5 or 6 feet down. Water would have just drained into it.
You didn't have the ability to move it back so that it was parallel with your existing garage?
No, it wouldn't do it.
I mean,
I mean,
it looks from the schematic that's up there, it looks like you would have had room for that because you're fairly close to your garage, right? You're right adjacent to it.
well, yeah,
Correct.
I'm 4 or 5 feet from it.
Yeah.
But even at that, it's raised up.
And the back of the garage is the back of the carport there. It doesn't sit out front. It's back to back.
But couldn't this building have been put back so that it was right equal with that?
One corner
garage.
of it is. One corner of it is right back here on the property line. And that's where I'm trying to get the variance from that corner.
If this variance isn't approved, what options do you have? What would you do if the variance is not approved?
I guess I've got to tear it down. There's nothing I can do with it.
You're saying that it could not be physically moved back so that it's parallel with with your garage that's existing, which would probably give you the setback?
Concrete slab.
Huh?
Let's pour this on top of a concrete slab.
Yeah.
And that's why we thought everything was fine, because we had construction people that did the concrete, we had construction people that did the building itself, and we had electricians do the electric. And no one ever said anything about it, so. But,
Did you have a building permit?
no, we did not. We have paperwork that says we didn't need one. That one of the contractors gave us.
But you're certainly aware that when you build something, you need a building permit, right? I mean, that's pretty common knowledge, isn't it?
Well, I mean, if, for further stuff like that, yeah, I can see it, but it's just a concrete slab with a metal building being put together on top of it. I didn't think I needed one,
And if they tell you you don't need one, then,
and I didn't give another thought to it.
and that's in writing.
And who is they? When you say they told me that you wasn't there, who's
It
they?
is.
That card,
Yeah, it's in there. It's in your
business card,
packet.
contract.
Okay.
The page I pulled up in front of you is the only thing with permit and no on it that I could find in any of the packet
Right.
y'all gave us. If you look at that screen over there.
Yeah.
The 4 lines, permit lines, WS, and then truck, I'm assuming those are all the no-no and yes.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you were referencing?
Yes.
Okay. And before we go any further,
Yeah.
you said you were 14 feet from the edge of the road?
11 feet, I believe.
11?
Did we write that down anywhere, just
No.
exactly what it was?
Well, I think we did maybe on the,
We need to revise their request from a 10-foot variance to a 24-foot variance if it's 11 foot from the edge of the road.
I thought it went from the center.
Right, I'm doing we included the roads as a right-of-way, this 30-foot right-of-way, 25-foot setback, they're 11-foot,
It needs to be a 24-foot setback?
24-foot variance to the
Variance.
setback.
Right. Okay, any further, anybody else care to ask any questions or have any comments?
Comments? Or questions?
Questions?
I don't have any questions.
You may be seated then.
Thank you.
James, what is your take on this?
So there was a code enforcement complaint on this property, and that is also included in your backup. That's kind of what started this whole thing. Scroll up to that. There were no building permits pulled. Building permits were required, so if the variance is granted, they will still need to do a building permit after the fact for the building itself and for the electrical. Is it hooked up to septic as well, or just to
No.
electrical? Okay, so just the building permit and the electrical will have to be inspected. They'll have to go through that process with the building official and get signed off post-construction. If the variance is not approved, then that would become a moot point, so there would be no need for that. Happy to answer any questions you guys have about the request. If you are still prepared to consider this, if somebody will make a motion to revise the request to the 24-foot from the front setback and accept that, then we can move into the rest of the discussion.
I guess I got a question is,
Yeah, please.
you know, whoever turned this in, are they impacted by it, or is it do they live close by there, or do they,
Don't know.
do we know?
I do. Don't allow him to speak.
I don't know.
He's on the list. I
Is
think.
he on the list?
Yeah.
So, if people wanna make their own public comments during that portion of the meeting, that's fine. Let's not get into other
Right.
people and speculation.
Right.
Right. If you guys would be okay with that.
Can we have, to get the, let's have the motion for the 24-foot variance, and we'll get that on the table, then we'll go from there. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Do we have any discussion or any,
Who was the second? I'm sorry.
huh?
Who was the second? Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
It's unanimous.
Motion carries, okay. Then the next item, what we'll do is we'll take the citizen comments. And the first person is it Michelle Pointer?
Hello. First, I want to state that you kept referring to where the existing garage was. They don't have an existing garage, they do have an existing carport.
Carport, right?
I just want,
Okay.
our road is a one-lane road. The speed limit is 20 miles an hour. There's, I believe, maybe 12 houses on our road and I think 8 full-time residents at the most. It's in no way does where their garage impact or impede anybody's driving. There is another road off of us that has, I believe, 6 houses with full-time residents. But again, it's 20 miles an hour, and we don't even go that fast down the road because we
That
usually
is-
stop and wave and say hello to them on our way by. But it doesn't impede on anybody. Even if, I know there, with things being close to the road, they're always worried if an accident, but at the speeds we go on that road, we wouldn't even be fast enough to go into their garage, if you know what I'm saying. And I support the variance being approved for them. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Okay. Jonathan Nation?
Yes. Those lines that were showing on the property lots are not in the right place. Now, I don't know whether theirs is in the right place or not, but I can speak for mine and the lot next to mine. The lot next to mine up there, the row of Leland cypress you see there is 1 foot on this side of the line. You see where the line's at? It's showing there. All right, my shop right there, the property line goes through the edge of that where the concrete's turned out, so that line's not correct. I don't know how y'all came up with those lines, but they're not correct.
So all of our.
And I don't know whether the one behind their house is correct or not, but if I had to take a guess, I'd say that line's not correct either.
Yeah, all of our zoning maps are approximate, that's why there's the waiver, when we log into them, they're showing an approximate location. There are no recorded plats that we have for this parcel or any one.
So if he says that he couldn't back it up because of it on the property line, he's probably correct. And I mowed the grass there on, the vacant lot across from the shop to where, you know, if the car meets another car, I didn't have a clean place to pull over on the side of the road to let that car by.
So are you for or against the variance?
I'm for it. I don't think they should have to move their shop.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Candy O'Shields?
I just agree with what he said.
Okay, very good. We do have an email that came in, and I'll read it. It came from Jim Spearman, and it doesn't list an address for it.
Yeah, it does. 149 Welters Cove Road.
He's down at the boat ramp.
Okay. My name is, Jim Spearman, and I reside at 149 Walters Cove Road, Westminster, South Carolina. I am writing to oppose the variance request on the subject appeal. Opposition is based on 2 points. Point 1 is a line of sight issue. Please see attached photo. Where the owner's vehicle is parked in front of the structure, it obstructs the line of sight in both directions of Knox Cove Road. Approving this variance creates a safety, or a traffic safety issue with parking right along Knox Cove Road. And so we have one opposed.
Do you have, in relation to,
There's another.
where is that in relation to this location? Do we have a map?
I can, give me 1 second.
Huh? I
The second one.
missed it. Okay, I'm sorry. The second point would be that all other residents on Knox Cove Road and Walters Cove Road have followed all the setback and permit requirements. It doesn't make sense for all the property owners who have followed these requirements to now have practice to allow variances. With respect, we request the variance be denied. Jim Spearman.
So it's not really, do they merge down lower? Or-
I think that's the only way out is
Am I allowed to respond to that email?
That's okay.
That's up to you.
That's up to you.
Yes.
Chair.
Yeah.
So that's not really the way in and out.
When this all came about, I knew exactly who had the issue and filed the complaint. Jim Spearman's wife, Connie. There's nothing she doesn't complain about.
Mr. Chairman, so if there's specific points to any of the points that were made,
Yeah.
let's not do the personal.
Yeah,
Okay.
we don't
But-
want to get.
But there is
personalities.
no line of sight issues at all. My grandkids ride the golf cart right there. If there was, I'm very overprotective. If there was any issues such as that, I would not allow my grandkids to ride. So in my response to that, that just is not a true statement. But I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody have any other questions of the applicant?
Not of the applicant, but
Questions?
are there any, since this is so close to the road, how much of a precedent is this? I mean, how many other properties are this close to the road? Is this one of a kind, or are there several properties like that in the neighborhood?
So are there, I'm not sure I understand the question, are there properties that abut the road, or is there?
He's saying, is this an exception
What
to
kind
the
of
rule,
precedents are
or
we
is this?
setting for
Or are
future?
there many
So,
properties that are in the same
good news for you as a
situation?
board is that prior decisions don't have to influence present decisions, that
Right, I
each case
understand.
is decided on its own merit. So Just because you grant a variance for somebody on a front setback doesn't mean you're required to give the next person who asked for a front setback.
I understand, but that's not my question.
Okay.
My question is, are there any other properties that have the same or less setback than this does?
No.
Okay, so
Yes, there
this would
is.
be the closest to the road of anything else in the neighborhood.
That I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you.
So there weren't any houses going there or before we put these codes in.
Okay. Okay, then let's,
This is they're aware of something. I'm not aware of
you
it.
have something?
Yeah,
There
I will
is.
say that I rode down by there this afternoon, and as far as because it's near where I live, and the speed of the road, from what she's saying, is exactly correct. I mean, it's very, it's an old country road,
Yeah.
and it's, very, very slow down through there, so, for what it's worth.
I can see how the truck sticking out there is potentially an issue. Isn't there a way that you could put a cement slab next to so you can pull his truck up on the side of it versus in the front?
We can move the
Moving
truck
the truck is no problem.
to the carport.
Yeah, but that would be rather hard to police though, haven't it?
Yeah, I know.
Well, it sounds like we got a policeman in the area, so.
That would- Looking at the photograph and everything, and it's built onto a slab. If only there were a way that you could take and construct another slab behind it and just slide the thing back, you'd have a longer driveway, and you'd be within compliance.
But I'd be over my property line.
You'd be beyond your property line.
Yeah.
And that's we can move the truck to where the carports are, because there's only one car parked there right now. But we also cut down all our bushes in front so that you could have a straight line of sight when you're coming down the road.
Okay, let us start our deliberations. What's
It's
the
just-
board's
to me,
pleasure?
It's hard to understand why you build something that significant without a building permit. I just don't get that.
Based off what the contractor didn't say. If you don't know, I would think a professional person that puts these up for a living ought to know.
And that's what we thought too.
Yeah. I would assume that.
But at the same time, I can't imagine, I also can't imagine they don't have a building permit, and nobody told them they needed a building permit. But if anybody else came before us and said, well, I'm sorry, I didn't know that you needed a building permit, I should have gotten one, but I didn't. And we can't just accept anybody's reason for not having one, that they just didn't know about it. I mean, the rules are the rules, and we may not all be aware of what the rules are, but we can't be responsible, what were you gonna say?
No further comment. We're in our deliberation, so that, continue, please.
Okay, so the net is that I think the people that are building a building on their property, if a building permit is necessary, a building permit is necessary, and if they weren't aware of it, too bad, but that wasn't,
I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
okay?
You trust people that you do business with, and you know, down there, that's just not how we operate around here. You know, if you're from around here, that's, you kinda.
Yeah, but that person is liable for any problem that they've caused.
I would say you have to go back to whoever put that in that didn't know to do that, but to make these people move that thing back, put another slab there when it's really not creating any problem, that's abusive.
Yeah.
That's abusive. Just because you can doesn't mean you ought to do it.
No, no.
It doesn't make it right just because you can.
Okay, Anybody else have, anybody else?
One question, I'm assuming some of the ones that spoke are neighbors, or y'all are close, nearby? It's not really impacting anybody right close to them, it's somebody that lives, you know, what it looks like to me, so, you know, it's not bothering anybody across the road or next to them. You know,
got these folks here saying it's not a problem,
Yeah.
so,
It would be different if they had put it up themselves.
yeah.
Okay, then. What we do next is that we go through a series of questions. And as we go through the questions, we take a vote. If there's a negative vote on any one of the questions, then basically the variance would be denied. So that we wanted to make that known to you up front, so that as we proceed, you'll know that. So let us let's start with our deliberations. I think we've covered all the comments, public comments, board member questions. We have no further questions or comments that you want to make. We start our deliberations. There are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. Do we have a motion in the affirmative?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, do we have any discussion? All in favor?
It's unanimous.
These conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. Do we have a motion in the affirmative?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Opposed.
You're opposed, okay?
Motion passes 4-1.
Okay, was that 4-1?
Yes, sir.
Because of these conditions, the application of this chapter to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. Do we have a motion in the affirmative?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, one
Motion
opposed.
carries 4-1.
Okay. The authorization of a variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent uses or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. Do we have a motion in the affirmative?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
It's unanimous.
Okay. Based on the evidence presented to the board, a second here, 1, 2, 4. Okay, based on the evidence presented to the board, do I hear a motion that the proposed variance of a 24-foot variance be approved?
Motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, do we have any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? One opposed.
Motion carries 4-1.
Okay, you have, your variance has been granted.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.